So my name is Britta and I work at Wheaton Public Library as one of the teen librarians. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a no-sew fleece hat. So you have your piece of fabric, you're going to need a tape measure and a pair of scissors. If you want to use any form of sewing, so needles, thread, etc., in the bag that I've provided for our program, you should also have a sewing kit, which will have needles, some basic thread, and the tape measure inside. So essentially, here are the quick directions on how we will be making the no-sew fleece hat. I have made essentially the steps that you will watch. The hat that I'm making is actually going to be larger so that you're able to see what I'm doing and it's not too small. But here are essentially the quick steps that we will be doing. Firstly, you're going to be measuring your head, which I will show you in the video further in how to do that. Essentially, you're going to be using your tape measure to figure out the circumference of your head, and you are going to be adding 6 to that number and cutting out in your fabric how long that is. So essentially, I had about 27 inches in total. That would be the 21 plus 6, making 27. So I cut out 27 inches in length, and you're going to figure out if you want to make more of like a child size hat, which is about 14 inches tall, or if you're going to be making an adult sized hat, which is more of like a 16 inch. So in short, my fabric currently, which I've already pre-cut, is going to be 16 by 17 inches in length. So now that you have that fabric piece cut, you're going to fold it over. Feel free to take as much time as you need to fold it over nicely so that hopefully both corners go over one another in size. From there, you are going to be measuring out 3 inches on the side by 3 inches, and that is essentially going to be where you are cutting fringes along. There is going to be a corner piece that you are going to be cutting out where the 3 inches and the 3 inches intersect. That corner piece is going to be not necessary while making the hat. To complete the hat is you're going to make 2 cuffs on the edge of the hat in order to shorten it up a little bit so that it fits better. If you can make 2 tight cuffs, that would be great. It would be able to essentially hold it in place. However, if you're not very good at cuffing like I am, you can also use the sewing kit. If you want, it's totally optional to sew up so that the cuffs will stay. Otherwise, if you want to leave it down, you can always do that. So then, my hat is a little tight, unfortunately, but otherwise, you have your hat, you have it completed, and if you continue to watch the movie, I will show you how in detail. All right, so the piece of fabric that you have is going to be half a yard in size, which means it's going to be 18 inches tall, and I've pre-cut mine, so mine is 27 inches long. The reason that I cut it 27 inches long is due to after measuring the circumference, but we'll get there, no rush. So with your fabric, you're going to want to turn and fold it so that there are 2 pieces of fabric. To measure the circumference of your head, you're going to need your tape measure. First, start out by putting the tape measure against the middle of your forehead, and then slowly wrap the tape measure against your head. once you get to where the tape meets the beginning of the tape measure, gently, using your finger, just mark off where that number is. So I got 21 inches, so using that number of 21, you're going to add 6 inches for a little bit of extra additional space around your head so it's not too tight. So that is why I have the 21 plus the 6 extra inches, giving you 27 inches in length. Using the information that you have, whatever the amount of space around your head, plus the 6 extra inches, you're going to cut the fabric to be that number. So again, I got 21 inches, add the 6, 27 in length. So feel free, use that time to go do that. Now, as for the 18 in height, so what you're going to do for the most part is decide if you are going to be having a child size hat, which you're going to have 14 inches, so you're going to cut it dependent on if you think a child size hat at 14 inches is, or if you want to use more of an adult size hat, which is generally 16 inches. So since I am not using a child size hat, I'm going to cut my fabric at 16 by 27. So you feel free, if you want to use some masking tape, you don't have to. Masking tape should not pull too much of the fuzzies off of the fabric, so it shouldn't damage it too much if you just want to use your tape measurer. What I personally did is I used my tape measure to measure out the 27. I used a pen to mark off, and I used it to cut off the 16, and then I cut it from there. So again, if you want, it is not required. You can use a pen on the back side of the fabric that will not be seen, which is why I am using the dull side here. While if you open up, it looks a little more clearer and vibrant. Again, you don't have to use pen, you don't have to use marker, you don't have to use anything. You can eyeball it if you want. I personally cannot cut a straight line to save my life, so I'll use pen. So I have just cut my fabric so that it is 16 inches long by 27 inches tall. So now that that is complete, we're actually going to get into actually working on it now, again. So for this part, we are actually going to be measuring 3 inches from the side by 3 inches from the top. So again, 3 inches by 3 inches. So again, you can either use masking tape if you want to mark it off, you can use a pen or a marker. If you are using Sharpie, try to be a little gentle with it. I don't think Sharpie should bleed through. I don't think the material is that thin, but you never know. Just want to make sure. So again, 3 inches by 3 inches. Feel free to mark that off. Again, I'm still on the dull side of the fabric, so I will be using a pen to continue marking this. I outlined my 3 inches from the top, 3 inches from the side with a lime green pen. Visible for me, probably not so much for the camera. So I made a little line using the measuring tapes that I had. Now, the reason I did this for the camera is, do you see this little corner piece? The one that is outside of the brown and the white line? This piece right here, we have absolutely no need for. So this little square, you're going to cut out. Now, follow me on this one. You have two pieces of fabric stacked on top of each other. You are going to cut through both pieces of fabric, top and bottom layer. So feel free, cut that piece out. Once that is done, using your scissors, you are going to cut thin strips alongside the side piece and alongside the top piece. So the strips should be about 1/2 inch in size. You don't have to use a measuring tape to measure each 1/2 inch. You can eyeball it just fine. So again, cut out the square. You do not need it. And cut 1/2 inches along the side and along the top. As I am cutting the pieces, I am making sure not to go past that 3-inch line that I had established along the top and along the side. Again, your cuts do not have to be perfect. I, again, cannot cut a straight line to save my life. So there are pieces where they're thick and then they thin at the bottom. This side is going to be used to tie the hat together, and this is going to be used as a pom-pom on top of the hat. So again, you don't have to worry. It's not perfection that you're looking for a hat. Cutting the strips, you are going to start on the side. So with the top layer and the bottom layer of, they call it fringe, you can also call it strips, either works. You are going to tie them together. Now, be careful not to tie them too tightly, as unfortunately I learned that if you do tie them too tightly, it will change the shape of the hat and make it more talon shaped, shall we say? So essentially your hat will turn and then it will turn in. So leave a little bit of like some looseness to the knots. You're going to double knot them, but don't pull the fabric too hard or you're gonna have a weird shaped hat. So you're going to continue this all the way until the end, and then you're gonna stop there. You're not going to tie these guys. These are going to be for a completely different thing. I'm going to assume that everyone was at least 12 times smarter than I was and went, no, Britta, don't start tying the knots yet. You haven't flipped it over to the correct side where it's vibrant and bright and not dull. Hopefully you guys did, because I didn't, so thankfully I didn't get too far into it. Now that you have the side completely double knotted, what you are going to do is you are going to gather all the fringe along the side, not including the final pair on the right. Also, this piece on the edge where the fold is, maybe you cut it, maybe you didn't. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's fine if it's cut, it's fine if it's not. So, again, you are going to gather all the fringe except for the pair that is on the far right. So we're going to gather it, it's going to be scrunched up, and once you have it all in your hand, you're going to get the pair from the far right, and you are going to wrap the pair around. So much fabric. You're going to tie up the pom, and you're going to double knot it if you can. There should be more than enough fabric to do a double knot, but I mean, if you could triple knot it, that's great too. If you can't, try your best to double knot. So now you have your pom, you have your back of the hat side currently, and you have the base of your hat. Now, from here, what you can do is you can fold it so that your hat is shorter.